Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So you've had the opportunity to hear from Montana about NICE and think about it from a national perspective. NICE is an initiative that I think one of the primary things that it does, it begins to get all of us to talk about something that's very complicated the same way and use the same language. So what we've done at DHS is to figure out how do we operationalize that? How do you take something at that high level and make it fit into a world as complex as what we have at the Department of Homeland Security? So we were lucky. In 2012, the Homeland Security Advisory Council stood up a task force on cyber skills. That task force was made up of experts from industry, from the world of academia, and they came in and spent time with our cyber professionals and our cyber leaders within the department to determine what were some of the issues we were having and to come up with some of those recommendations. They came back with 11 recommendations to help us to address some of the things that we were dealing with in the department, specifically around the areas of hiring and training and the retention of our employees and growing our pipeline. Now, that report, when it came back, it was a little daunting. It was a lot. We were like, oh, wow, how are we going to do all of this? Well, what we did was to look at it and figure out what can we do. Well, using the 10 mission critical skills which were defined in the report, those 10 mission critical skills gave us a head start. What we did is think about it from this perspective. You can't boil the ocean. Cyber is big, it's complicated, it's a lot. So we said we're going to start with those 10 mission critical skills that were identified in the report and frame our future activities in the near future around that. So one of the first things we did is we took those 10 mission critical skills, we went across the department to determine exactly where those activities were taking place and who was performing those activities. That provided us with a baseline inventory of our workforce who were performing the 10 mission critical skills. From there, we brought in experts from each one of those areas. We set up some focus groups and we asked a few questions. Tell us, what does it take to do this job? What are the skills and the behavioral indicators needed for these particular professions, from advanced to beginner? And we documented that. And as all good government professionals, we put it in a notebook. Then we went back, we asked some more questions. We said, what type of training do you think is needed at those different levels? Again, we put it in a notebook. So the notebook sat there, and then we went out and we started talking to our cyber professionals, understanding what their mission was, what activities were actually taking place in their world. Then we talked to some human capital professionals, because it is indeed a partnership. If we're going to do anything or fix any of the problems that we're having around the cyber workforce, especially in the federal space, we have to work together. You have to work together with your cyber professionals and your human capital professionals to get them to respect and understand each other's work. So, as you all have heard in my bio, I'm a technical person. I am not HR at all. But I've been very, very blessed to have worked with folks in the Human Capital Office, our Chief Human Capital Officer and our Chief Learning Officer, Ms. Kim Bos, who's here with me today. They worked with me to help me understand and help my team understand this is how it looks from a human capital perspective. So then we begin to deal with the issues on both sides, listen to both sides, and figure out now, how do we bring these things together? How do we get these two organizations and these two worlds to work together and talk in order to accomplish that mission of being able to simply hire a person? Now keep in mind, all the while we have a lovely notebook over here to the side. And that notebook has a wealth of information about our cyber workforce. Well, one of the things that we determined really quickly is that when it comes to human capital, there is a document that is so important to the overall human capital process. And it's very simple. It's the position description. How many of you all, when you need to hire and you need to start off with a PD, you just grab the last one? Oh, let me just grab this one, and you start and you get in the pipeline, move forward, and hope for the best. Well, what we are able to do at the Department of Homeland Security now is that we've taken that language that accurately describes our positions in granular detail, and we've put that into a tool. We call it our push button PD, and we've worked with our human capital professionals, our folks in human capital policy, and we've brought those two things together so that we're taking the language that's needed from the program office, from the cyber program offices that actually describe what really happens, hands on the keyboard, boots on the ground, what they're really doing. And we've merged that with the human capital language that's needed and required according to our federal hiring standards and practices in order to create a position description and other documents needed for hiring. So what has that done for us? That's put us in the position where we advertise better because we can accurately describe the positions better. You can't recruit for 2014 skills with a 1970 PD. Two don't work. So you have to make sure that you're describing the job better so that the folks on the outside trying to apply for it, who have all those great and wonderful skills, will know what we're asking them to do. So this has yielded for us better certification lists. So when those cert lists come back in, they come back in with the folks we're really looking for with those skills. So that was done through trial and error, and it was painstaking. I know I only have a few minutes, so I made it sound really, really simple. But indeed it was not. Because you're talking about taking two worlds that have their own rigor, that have their own standards, and you have to bring them together. So I have two people on my team. I have one of the sharpest technical folks in the Department of Homeland Security who sits on one side of me, and I have one of the sharpest human capital people in the department. And they constantly go at it like this. And that's fine. That's fine. And that's what needs to happen, because both sides need to be heard in order for us to achieve the mission and to accomplish that goal of helping to fix some of the challenges that we're facing in the hiring process. So that's some of how we operationalized what was done in NICE and what was given to us, that great gift given to us by our Homeland Security Advisory Council. Now, one of the other things that we focus on is growing that pipeline. So one of the things that I noticed as I began to talk to students is that they didn't have any idea of what we did. They didn't know. All they knew were, you know, I'm sitting in college, I'm sitting in this classroom, I'm in STEM, and I know about these job titles. But I don't really know what you do at the Department of Homeland Security. So what we did is we set out to begin to help them understand what we do. We don't necessarily talk to them about job titles. We talk to them about the activities that are taking place. so that they can relate to it just a little bit better. So when you think of Secret Service, which is a part of the Department of Homeland Security, you think about their protection detail. Most people don't think about the fact that they have a wonderful cyber division that helps protect our financial infrastructure. When you think about Coast Guard, you think about, you look on the Weather Channel and it says, the Alaska program they have, and the Coast Guard will come save you, so on and so forth. Well, let's think about those ships. So when I talk to children, we talk about GPS technology and the telephone. They all have their phones in their hands, and they all know about GPS technology. And I said, well, what about the GPS technology on a ship? And they're like, wow, I didn't think about that. And I was like, yeah, you kind of sort of want to know what ship is pulling into your port. It's kind of important. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. All the great work that we do at the department in our ICE labs, our forensics labs, and the wonderful work that we do to save children and bring criminals to justice, and utilizing technology to do all of that. So we try to meet the children at their need and speak to them in something that they can relate to. And not just say, oh, we need you to take these STEM courses, and then hopefully you'll come out and you'll get a job doing systems analysis. Well, what does that really mean to them? We wanted to try a little different spin on it. So far, it's been working pretty well for us. We've adopted a few schools here in DC, in the high school area, and we have been working with some students there for almost a year, and started out by just having conversations about what activities are actually taking place. And I'm very proud to say that one of the students that we've been working with received the Trattenberg Scholarship from GW earlier this week. And will be going there majoring in mechanical engineering. So this is a child from one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in this city. Who knows where he'll end up? Who knows what he'll end up doing? Who knows what technology he'll end up creating? And as you'll hear from some of our other panelists, the path is always not the same to get into the technology field. So when we reach out to students, yes, we make sure we talk to STEM students, and we want to make sure that the curriculums are aligned appropriately, but we don't want to leave anyone out. We want to make sure that people know that there are many different ways to enter into this field. And there are many different skills that are needed in this field. Interpersonal skills are really important. Communication skills are really important. So we stress that with our students that we talk to. We want them to know that, well, sometimes you're going to be in a lab, but sometimes you're going to have to take what you find in that lab and communicate that to someone outside the lab. So therefore, your communication skills will be very important too. So those are just a few things that we're doing at the department to try to help grow the pipeline and to try to address some of the things and the challenges and things in the hiring area. And I'd be happy to work with any of you all on any ideas that you all might have on how to improve it and how to take what we have and we can take what you all have and have a conversation on how to help each other fix this process. So, thank you.